You've probably seen the news about a 15-year-old girl's lifeless body being found in the trunk of a Tesla. There are some truly complex, chilling, and shocking details about this case, and today we're going to talk about them. First of all, I want you to know this. Most of what I'm about to share consists of claims, social media posts, and reports. The legal process has not been concluded yet, so please keep this in mind. In other words, at this stage, we cannot definitely accuse David. However, when we bring all this information together, the picture that emerges is genuinely disturbing. Everything started on September 8th, 2025 in Los Angeles. A foul odor coming from an abandoned Tesla had begun to disturb the neighbors, and because they suspected something, they called the police. When officers arrived at the scene and opened the car, they found a decomposed body in the front trunk. Yes, Teslas have this kind of front trunk. As police investigated this horrifying discovery, they also spoke to residents in the area and learned that the vehicle had been sitting there for 3 weeks. While the officers tried to confirm the identity of the body, they also began investigating the owner of the car. This is where things took an interesting turn because the owner turned out to be none other than David, an artist whose songs many of us know by heart. You might be saying, I don't know this guy at all, but if you use social media, I'm certain you've heard his music before. When the incident broke out, he was actually on a world tour and had a concert that very day. After the authorities contacted him, he cancelled the tour and returned to Los Angeles to share what he knew and to cooperate with the police. At that time, almost nobody blamed David for the incident. People suggested his car might have been stolen or that he was being set up. Even his friends went live online saying things like, David would never do this. But once the identity of the body was confirmed, everything changed. The victim was revealed to be 15-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez. When she was found, she was wearing her Hello Kitty sandals, gray pants, and a black sweater. Celeste had been missing since April 5th, 2024. Born in 2010, she was only 13 when she disappeared, still a minor. Her family hadn't heard from her for a very long time, and now, a year and a half later, her lifeless body had been found inside David's car. After her identity was revealed, more details started pointing toward David because there were hundreds of connections between this girl and him. If you're ready, we're now going to examine those links, things you haven't heard anywhere else and that haven't been shared before. But first, I'd be really happy if you could support me by subscribing to my channel. Thank you. For example, her mother had said that her daughter had a boyfriend named David. In addition, both David and Celeste had the same tattoo on their fingers that said, shh. Their photos together, their messages, live streams, and dozens of other details that came out raised serious questions. As I said earlier, at first many people believed David was innocent because he was on tour and had been away for a long time. They suggested that his car might have been stolen or that someone else might have placed the body inside the car. The fact that a Tesla isn't something you can easily steal was overlooked. Teslas have location tracking, PIN codes, and security cameras, but still people defended him saying he was on tour so he couldn't have done it. The moment the case broke online, countless posts appeared on Discord and Reddit. You know how they say the internet never forgets? Well, in this case, we saw exactly that. Strange information about David started circulating so quickly that suddenly everyone began blaming him. But let me repeat, David still hasn't been arrested. Right now, he is cooperating with the police. There is someone who has been arrested in connection with the case, and I'll talk about that in a moment. When the case first came to light, many people began saying that Celeste was actually David's girlfriend. According to the claims, the two had met through Discord. For those who don't know, before David became popular as a singer, he was a teenager who used to play games on live streams and worked as a moderator on Discord. At the time they supposedly met, Celeste was only 11 years old. Yes, 11. Please think about just how young that is. David himself was around 16 or 17 at the time. Screenshots from that period show David asking on Discord, "Is Celeste here?" and Celeste replying, "Hello David, bark." In another Discord conversation, people were talking about whether David had a girlfriend. One person even wrote, "David has a girlfriend. Her name is Celeste." As I said, these messages are from before Celeste went missing. So actually, people in David's close circle and Discord groups already knew about this relationship long before. But soon, I'll tell you about what David allegedly did to keep people quiet about being involved with an 11-year-old girl. Of course, these are still just claims, but before that, let's take a closer a look at some of these Discord chats. In one conversation from last year after Celeste had already gone missing, David wrote on Discord, "I'm having a song crisis right now." And someone responded, "Release the song you wrote for missing girl Celeste Rivas Hernandez." Yes, it is alleged that David wrote a song for Celeste but never released it. On Reddit, some very strange posts also attracted attention. Before the identity of the body in the car was confirmed, one Reddit user wrote the following, "This guy is a weirdo. A close friend's little sister ran away last year and this is who she was with. I'm terrified that's who is in the car. Nobody has heard from her in months. I won't release names as she's still a minor." An Instagram account also shared a photo that allegedly proved David was giving money to kids. In the photo, David could be seen counting cash in his hand. This image made the claims even stronger. According to the allegations, the story behind this photo is this. Since David was in a relationship with someone underage, he was giving money to kids who blackmailed him about it in order to silence them. What made it even stranger and what strengthened the claims was that the photo was taken near Celeste's house. In addition, David had also been spotted in the area around Celeste's home before she went missing. I should also mention this. The license plate of David's tour bus read Celeste. That could just be a coincidence. But as you'll see, there are many such coincidences piling up. There were also very interesting details in David's songs. First of all, for a long time, he had been releasing new tracks every year on September 7th. Guess whose birthday that is? Yes, Celeste's. David was clearly fixated on September 7th. By the way, September 7th also coincides with what they call the Blood Moon Day, and David has a track titled Super Blood Moon. For example, one of his most popular songs, Romantic Homicide, was released on September 7th, Celeste's birthday, and the lyrics are really disturbing. He says, "In the back of my mind, I killed you, and I didn't even regret it." Also, if you watch the music video for this song, you'll be as shocked as I was. Speaking of September 7th, let me tell you something else. Under one of David's TikTok videos, someone commented, "Please adopt me. I need it." And David tagged an account named 0907 and asked, "Should we adopt her?" I'm sure you understand who he was referring to with 907. He was hinting at Celeste, whose birthday is September 7th. Going back to his videos and songs, most of the girls he uses in his clips look like Celeste. They all have a very similar appearance. And in his music videos, he constantly works with the theme of life ending. In fact, in one of his videos, they openly put a girl into a trunk. I honestly have no words. David does this because he has openly said that he likes the theme of death and is obsessed with it. At the very first concert of his tour, he even staged a funeral ceremony. They literally brought a coffin onto the stage. In that funeral-themed concert, the name of the deceased shown was Atami. In Japanese, Atami means pain. David didn't just randomly choose that name. He had also adopted Atami as the name of his own alter ego. He explained it like this. For my first music video, I had this idea in my head for a long time to introduce a character. I've always been very interested in anime and manga. At one point, I even wanted to create my own manga series. A big part of that manga was a character named Atami, an evil version of myself. He was my alter ego. I was the one committing the crimes, but then I was also the detective trying to solve them. In other words, I was investigating the murders I myself had committed. Then, for the first time, I got the chance to use that idea in the Romantic Homicide music video. He might have been talking about the character in the video when he said Atami, but then again, maybe not, because he is genuinely obsessed with these kinds of themes. Now, let's look at David's song, Decide. There's a line that says, "I know what the problem is. Save your tears. 7 years. 7 years?" When this song was released, Celeste was only 11. The reason he might be saying, "Save your tears for 7 years," could be because in 7 years, Celeste would become an adult. Honestly, this detail gave me chills. Another strange thing is that there are photos of the two of them wearing the same bracelets. And then there's the Hello Kitty connection. When Celeste went missing, she was wearing Hello Kitty sandals. David, on the other hand, is often seen with Hello Kitty keychains, t-shirts, and accessories. Even his social media profile pictures are filled with Hello Kitty images. I personally find that a bit odd, and it doesn't end there. Photos of David and Celeste together have also been leaked online. Of course, it's still just an allegation. It may not actually be Celeste in those pictures, but the resemblance is striking. FaceTime calls, photos, and messages between them are currently all over the internet. When you first see this information, you might immediately believe it, but considering how advanced AI has become, for now we can only say these are allegations. There's even a Twitch stream they allegedly did together, and their conversation was very disturbing. David: I trained you about media. Girl: no, you didn't. David: that's up for debate. Celeste: what's up for debate is doing with kids. After this, David can be heard on the live stream telling the moderators, delete everything, nothing should remain. He demanded that the stream and its recordings be wiped. Meanwhile, the location where David's car was found was also investigated, and it turned out that the property had been rented by David's manager and that David himself had been living there. So the car wasn't abandoned randomly somewhere, it was near the place where he lived. This detail already weakens the claims that the car had been stolen. The last thing I'll mention is about the messages David reposted on TikTok. In those, David repeatedly shared things about jealousy, threats, and manipulation. Unfortunately, this incident didn't only affect David. As you know, when celebrities stay silent about societal issues, it also draws criticism. So it's expected that artists who collaborated with this person would face backlash. For example, who did he work with? He recently released a song with Stray Kids member Hyunjin. He has many videos with Ketsai. They filmed a mukbang together. He also released a collaboration with Bangchan's sister, Hannah Bang. Lots of groups made trend videos using his songs. There are photos of him with Boy Next Door, MioVV, and P1 Harmony. So he had some form of connection, direct or indirect, with many names in the industry. Also, in recent months and years, David came to Korea to promote his songs and performed on M Countdown. Now, here's the thing. It hasn't been proven that David is guilty, and as far as I know, he isn't even under arrest right now. What has happened is that David's personal bodyguard was arrested. Let's say David is guilty. Even in that case, we cannot blame the idols and artists who released songs with him or stood beside him. Nobody would knowingly stay close to someone thinking they had done something like that. So please stop accusing the names that were linked to David. Most of them already showed their reaction by unfollowing him when the news broke. While all of this was happening, David's music career collapsed rapidly. First Brains, then his record label, and then listeners turned their backs on him. Even Jason, who at the start of the video I mentioned had said he would never do something like this, backtracked and said, I'm not defending him anymore, this is demonic. I don't know what will happen in the coming days, but for now this case is definitely full of very frightening details. I hope the guilty are caught as soon as possible. Take care of yourselves until the next video. Goodbye.